Hey there, welcome back to another episode of REV Your Metabolism with Alicia Murphy. That's me, I'm your buddy, Alicia, and your guide to revving up that metabolism, mastering stress, and living your best life after 40. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many of us: stress. And today we're going to talk about specifically how stress affects our metabolism and, more importantly, what we can do about it. Yep, that's the sound of stress ticking away at our metabolism. It's like that uninvited guest at your dinner party who overstays their welcome. I don't know, but don't worry. Today, we're going to kick that stress out of our party, send it packing. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's get started. Okay, I know that normally I tell you to put your walking shoes on, get outside, and go for a walk. But today I thought, let's chill out, kind of just sip on our favorite bevy as we talk about this important topic. And I've got my favorite beverage right here. For those of you that are listening and can't see, you know what it is: grapefruit spindrift. As a matter of fact, listen to this. Did you hear that? Oh, ho, ho. Now, I get asked a lot, what are some good spindrift flavors? There's a lot that are great. I love their lemonade line. They have strawberry lemonade, a bunch of different lemonade flavors, but grapefruit's always my favorite. It has my heart. Anyways, all right, here we go. We're going to talk about first understanding the stress metabolism connection. And I do want to say that I did another episode, episode 21, where I talked about how to transform the way you view stress. So if you haven't heard that, go listen to it. I will hit a couple of topics, a couple of points that I talked about in that episode today as well. But that was more about shifting our perspective of that stress is all bad, because it's not. But today, I want to talk about what's actually going on when we're stressed. And it becomes more important, especially for us women, as we age. It's really critical to understand that stress isn't just in your head, it's a full body experience. And the star of this show is cortisol. That's our primary stress hormone. So when we're faced with stress, whether it's a work deadline or a traffic jam or just thinking about what the heck you're going to make for dinner, our body releases cortisol to help us cope. Now, a little cortisol is actually good. It helps us to respond to danger, and it's actually a fat burner. But chronic stress means chronic cortisol, and that's when things go haywire, because high cortisol levels can mess with your metabolism, slowing it down, increasing belly fat, and making it really hard to lose weight. Ever wonder why it feels like you're doing all the right things, but your body isn't responding? Stress could be the culprit. It's like trying to drive a car with the emergency brake on. Super frustrating, right? But fear not. We're not about to let stress get the best of us. So let's shift gears and talk about some practical ways to manage stress and keep our metabolism humming. And before I move into talking about our stress toolkit, I wanted to quickly, number one, let you know that I have created a quiz that helps you to know if your metabolism needs a little bit of love. Because as we all know, our hormones start to shift, us ladies, right around, late 30s, early 40s. So we got to do things differently if we want to keep our metabolism firing on all cylinders. So I created this quiz It's super fun, and depending on your answers, you will get a customized response telling you what are a few things that you should start doing right now based on your answers to help you to rev up your metabolism. Now, you can access that quiz by going to stressmonkey.com/quiz. And remember, monkey is spelled EE, so stressmonkey with 2 E's.com/quiz. Telling you, it's a good time. You'll love it. The other thing I want to quickly touch on before we go into the stress toolkit, and this might be a review for some of you, and better listen because, spoiler alert, there are going to be a fact or fiction coming up shortly here. So if I've lost you, come on back to me now. Cortisol is actually a fat burner, especially around exercise when we are lifting weights or doing anything intense, and we have also the release of testosterone and human growth hormone, okay? Those, and don't worry, I'm not going to ask you about that in fact or fiction. But when combined with cortisol, the human growth hormone, and testosterone, that's a major fat burner. So cortisol can actually be a really good thing. But the problem is when we are faced with too much stress too often, then we have chronic cortisol elevation, and now it completely backfires. It's no longer going to be a fat burner. Now it's going to actually drive fat storage, especially in the midsection. So in a nutshell, what happens is when you are stressed out, and again, I talk about this a lot in episode 21, that stress is not just mental and emotional stress, right? Stress could be not drinking enough water. Stress could be eating junk food. Stress could be not getting enough sleep. Whatever your body perceives as a stressor, that is going to trigger that cortisol release. So now when that cortisol is released, your body thinks that you need to get out of harm's way, hence the name fight or flight. So your body's going to shut down all other systems, meaning your digestive system, your immune system. It wants to put all of its focus on getting you out of that trouble. And it also wants to give you an immediate source of energy to help you fight or flee. So it elevates your blood sugar. But really, you're just sitting in traffic with road rage going on right now. So your body thinks you're in this stressful situation. Now your blood sugar's high and you're just sitting there. You're not using that blood sugar as energy. So here's where the fat storage part comes in. High blood sugar is toxic. Your blood sugar cannot stay high. So the other metabolic hormone known as insulin is going to come, take that blood sugar, and it's going to go deliver it so that your bloodstream can get back to normal. And if there's not room in your liver or muscles to store that sugar, it will get stored as fat. So you can see why this chronic hit of cortisol over and over and over, you're probably going to end up having some fat storage from it. And we got to also remember that we have that chronic elevated blood sugar could also lead to prediabetes. So we want to avoid this. And the big takeaway for my lady friends over 40, my revers, my sweet revers, you have to pay attention to this. Because, and I mentioned this in the last episode, because our estrogen levels are dropping. Estrogen is our stress shield. We become more and more sensitive to that stress hormone, cortisol. So in the future episodes, stay tuned because I'm going to keep talking about ways for you to really hone in on actually helping your metabolism to thrive. And you got to do things different than you used to do. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. But there are things that you can do to help yourself have more energy, to have a better metabolism, and to help yourself literally slow down the aging process. All right, so let's move in. I hope that I did a good job of explaining the stress metabolism connection. Now let's talk about the stress toolkit. This is going to be techniques to tame the beast. Oh my goodness, but before we get into that, time for fight or flight. That's right. All right, my husband's upstairs, probably listening to me like, what in God's name is she doing down there? All right. Wait, did I just say fight or flight? Fact or fiction? Fact or fiction? Oh, I need a sip of my Spindrift. Okay, fact or fiction? The stress hormone cortisol is actually a fat burner. However, chronic stress leading to chronic cortisol levels backfires and triggers excess fat storage, especially around your midsection. Is that a fact or a fiction? I hope you got that right. It's a fact. Okay, now for reals, let's move into the stress toolkit. Techniques to tame the beast. So we're going to arm ourselves with some stress busting techniques. First, if I want to talk about something simple yet powerful, breath work. I know. You're breathing right now. I know. But I'm talking about intentional breathing, like the box breathing technique. And I teach this a lot. When we do something called Zen in 10 at Skechers headquarters, and we do this box breathing often. I'm going to explain how to do it, but what's really rad is that special op forces like the Navy SEALs use this technique as a way to calm themselves, but also focus in when they're in high stress situations. And I always joke, if it's good enough for the Navy SEALs, I think that you and I could do it too. Okay, so it's called box breathing because it's as easy as drawing a box in your mind. So imagine a square in your mind. On one side, you inhale for 4 seconds. Then on another side, you hold your breath for 4 seconds. Then on another side of the box, you exhale for 4 seconds. And then on the last side of the box, you hold again for 4 seconds. This activates something called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the one that tells your body, hey, it's cool, you can relax now. Try box breathing. I would suggest doing it 5 to 6 times around the box, whenever you want to. And the thing is, pretty much, I would say most people know that chronic stress is not a good thing, right? That it can be toxic. We hear all about it. But are you being intentional about doing something about it? So important, right? Another great tool is movement. Low intensity activities like slow to moderate paced walking, stretching, mobility work, even dancing around your kitchen. This not only lowers cortisol, but also boosts feel-good endorphins. So next time you feel stressed, shake it out. Even if your only dance partner is your puppy dog. Trust me, they'll judge you less than people. And then let's not forget mindfulness and gratitude practices. Journaling for just 5 minutes a day around what you're grateful for can shift your mindset and help rewire your brain away from stress. And if you're thinking, I don't have time for that, well, you have time to stress, so why not trade it for something positive? And this really plays into the idea also of mindset and perspective, because the way you perceive things is either going to heighten your stress or it's going to help you become stress resilient. So I tell myself, when I catch myself sometimes having a little pity party about something, I'll say, Alicia, you need to snap out of victim mentality and go to warrior mentality, because you're strong and you can do anything you put your mind to. That is the mindset shift that we need to have when it comes to things that are stressing us out. Another thing I like to do too is Finding purpose is a very important overall thing to have in your life. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, said the people who survived were the people who found purpose in their life. So just a couple little ideas, throw things out there for you to think about. And then, of course, sleep. Prioritizing a good night's rest is like hitting the reset button on cortisol. And when you sleep, that's when your body resets, repairs. Really important. So set a wind down routine. Keep your bedroom cool. It really works. And try to avoid screen time at least an hour before bed. Your metabolism is going to thank you. Moving on to stress and nutrition. Let's talk about how to eat to support your metabolism. So we're going to talk about food, one of my favorite subjects. Stress eating is real, but instead of reaching for comfort foods that can actually worsen stress. Remember what I said, junk food, your body can perceive that as a stressor. So let's think about foods that help to balance the cortisol. Omega-3 rich foods like salmon and chia seeds can help regulate stress hormones. Dark chocolate, yes, you heard me right, dark chocolate can actually reduce cortisol levels. And it actually is high in fiber too. But stick to the good stuff. We want 70% cocoa or higher. And then there's hydration. Dehydration is a sneaky stressor. Remember what I mentioned, right? Your body perceives dehydration as a stressor. Your body thinks you don't have access to water. So keep that water bottle handy. And speaking of sneaky stressors, caffeine. Love it. I'm a caffeine drinker, but too much can spike cortisol. So maybe switch that third cup of coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for some green tea, which still has a little caffeine, but also stress-busting antioxidants. And finally, don't forget about protein. High protein is so crucial because it helps to stabilize your blood sugar, which means fewer cortisol spikes, which means a happier metabolism. It's all connected, rubber. So think about every time you have a meal, making sure that there is a source of protein. If you need an afternoon snack, things like nuts, seeds, yogurt, things that are going to help keep that blood sugar stable. I think it's time now for another fact or fiction. Ready for some fact or fiction? All right. Dark chocolate is going to make your cortisol levels even higher. Is that a fact or fiction? That's fiction, right? That's good news. Remember, dark chocolate helps to reduce the stress hormone cortisol. It's high in fiber, but we're looking at 70% or higher, right? Let's move into your stress resilient routine. All right, let's get very intentional about this and talk about how can we come up with a routine that's going to help us be more stress resilient. So we've covered a lot today, but it's not just about one-off tricks. It's about creating a stress resilient lifestyle. And again, go listen to episode 21 if you haven't yet, because I really go in deep something called hormesis, which is actually intentionally subjecting yourself to low dose stressors to help train the body to become more stress resilient. So if that sounds like something you're like, what are you talking about? Go listen to episode 21. So things that you could do. So again, I want to go back to this idea of it's not that we live in a more stressful time than our ancestors. Think about our history of this world. I'm sure the Great Depression was no walk in the park, right? We're called the Dark Ages for a reason. So it's not that we're living in a more stressful time. It is that we have become less stress resilient. We have so many modern conveniences that we've lost our way when it comes to stress. We've gotten bad at stress. Knowing that, what are things that you can do to become more stress resilient? And I think the number one thing is your mindset. Developing a warrior mindset. Think for a moment, hard things that you've done in the past, right? Maybe you lost your job at a really horrible time. Maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe you went through a bankruptcy. Maybe you lost a loved one. Maybe you had a big health scare. You got through it. you've done hard things before. So starting to have the mindset that you can literally do anything and you're strong. The other thing that I think especially us women need to do a little bit more of is setting boundaries, saying no to things that drain you and yes to things that energize you. Build small moments of joy into your day, whether it's just taking a 5-minute break to stretch, calling a friend, having a mini dance party in your kitchen. Just a few minutes of something that brings you pure joy. Really important. And remember, stress doesn't have to be the enemy. It's about managing it, not eliminating it, because that's delusional. When you start to see stress as a challenge rather than a threat, you can flip the script and take back control of your health and your metabolism. It's all about building resilience, one breath, one bite, and one step at a time. All right, well, that's all for today, folks. I hope you're leaving this episode feeling empowered to master stress and keep that metabolism up. Remember to go check out that quiz, stressmonkey.com/quiz, and I'm going to link it in the show notes as well. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to dive deeper, you're going to want to check out the REV Method program. It's coming up soon. I'm here to help you every step of the way. But until next time, keep revving that metabolism and living your best life. Bye for now.